The Christian blank. Yeah, I'm going to fill in a little bit of that blank myself, but I also leave that open to you in the comments and also just in your thoughts about what might go in that blank as I kind of share just a little bit what's on my heart and on my mind about whether or not we are, as Christians, we are copying secular or worldly things and just, adding Christian to the beginning as an adjective. So in that case, like this channel, Christian music. And so we are told, as far as the Bible is concerned, and warned not to be part of the world and not to be copying the world. And in the case of what I'm going to talk about today, it's not necessarily that I am condemning or calling out what's going on. I just kind of want to maybe share some perspective, especially from some of the stories that I have growing up with Christian music. But it seems like, for the most part, good intentions. That's why I don't want to, sound like I'm pointing fingers or condemning in any way. However, to many, it probably does seem like we are simply copying the world. And it's obviously in the name of providing an alternative to what the world offers. And so it's something similar, like a trunk or treat, for instance. We just came off of the Halloween season, and that's kind of a good example of what I'm talking about. The world obviously had trick or treat and Halloween, and so we came along and we provided an alternative. And in fact, I love that alternative. And so, like I said, it's not like I'm condemning, but I just kind of want to look a little bit at that further. So for Christians, we obviously provide these alternatives so they don't seek the world. For non-Christians, we provide these alternatives so that when they look at the things that the church is doing, that they see something maybe similar that will draw them in and eventually be led to Christ by coming to those events. And so in that case, it serves a dual purpose for doing something similar as an alternative to what the world is offering. And maybe it's just a wag the dog kind of a thing, as it just appears that we are reactionary to what the world is offering, and maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we're doing different things, and just the way the circular process of that goes. So I kind of leave a little bit of that up to you, like I said, to fill in that blank as we go. Now I look at even just Christian retail stores. In our area we have Mardel and some other things, but that's probably the biggest one I can think of is Mardel in our area. And sometimes people have kind of accused stores like that, not necessarily Mardel specifically, but stores that basically take something that is a similar idea found elsewhere, and they slap a Bible verse on it and the pet rock, so to speak, with a Bible verse as a paperweight or whatever, and that suddenly provides value. But obviously they're in a business to make money, and being a Christian themed business, obviously it's going to have Bible verses on different things. So it's not necessarily they are just simply saying, hey, buy this rock as a paperweight, but if you happen to want a rock and you want a Bible verse on it, they're going to sell it to you. So once again, like I said, is it a wag the dog thing, or who's guiding who here? The market asks for something and someone provides it. And I remember as I was growing up, especially thinking in terms of retail stores, that t-shirts specifically, and you'll see a couple of the designs that I add here, that God's Gym instead of Gold's Gym. And so kind of the parody t-shirts. Actually, I think it says Lord's Gym on it, but it still kind of the same concept, using something that was already out there and trying to put a Christian spin on it. And so you could use it as a witnessing tool, and it allowed you to have something that looked similar but wasn't worldly. And so once again, who's guiding who? So as I move forward, obviously this is a channel about music history, so I kind of want to share some of the Christian blank that I heard and saw marketed as I was growing up listening to Christian music. A couple things to keep in mind as I'm going through this. Other than a couple examples that were flat out, it was obvious, it was definitely on purpose. My other experiences are just, I wouldn't say that take them dogmatically as fact that this is what the record companies were attempting to do. It's just kind of how either record stores or people who were getting the message, either radio stations or whatever else, it just kind of started in that marketing process. So not necessarily dogmatic what I say about most of these other than a couple. And then secondly, I guess I'll share as I go along that I actually understand a little bit about why it even happened at all in Christian music. So I'll share a little bit about why I think the Christian music industry did a lot of this. And I think it comes down to that the Christian music industry, especially at the beginning, had a smaller budget. And so it is easier to sign a Christian artist to a market that is already successful than to try to, forge and chart new ground on a genre that we're not sure whether or not it has a market to it. So in essence, the secular world, shows that a certain style works. Therefore, the Christian music industry doesn't have to spend all that money, testing, what you call maybe research and development, so to speak. And so they're able to say, oh, wow, that works. Let's do that. Interestingly enough, though, it seems as the Christian music industry grew and had a larger budget, it seemed to kind of get worse in the fact that even today, at least to me, it just seems like they don't want to take any chances creatively or musically. And so in that case, a little bit disappointing that as they grew, they didn't, start leading the way in, the creativity for music. From my experience, even in the early days of Christian music, it was about marketability, about marketing. I don't have anything, against Amy Grant's contribution to the beginning of Christian music, but it just seemed like she was easy to market to the youth. Young girl with a guitar getting up there and maybe inspiring to other girls and youth. And so not necessarily, older like some of the other artists might have been. And so she just had this look that was easy to market to young people, despite whether or not she had a superior, classically trained voice. And so marketing rules at that point. So as we go through these other examples that I kind of have been thinking about, I have about 10 or so kind of that I put down on my list. And once again, in the comments, if you've got something that you kind of remember being marketed. But I think in terms of Phil Keaggy, and you'll see the pictures here, that not only was his voice similar in sound to that of Paul McCartney, so this is one of those that was very much purposeful. And so the Phil Keaggy and Sunday's Child, and now you'll see the two covers there. And so they went right for matching with the Beatles cover. And now one that's not quite probably so dogmatic, White Cross, I remember them definitely being marketed as the Christian Rat. And the Christian Wilson Phillips, maybe you can guess, Point of Grace. Crystal Myers would have been the Christian Avril Lavigne. I think in terms of Rachel Lampa, not necessarily that she was the Christian something, but I specifically heard, and I think this was on the radio and it was marketed as such, and it just got us laughing and became a joke for a while. But they said she was so good looking that you just couldn't resist buying her album. And so we joked about, tried to, cover the eyes of the people as they were walking by her album for fear they ended up with like 12 copies of the same album because, you couldn't resist buying it as you walked by and saw it. So that would have been something that we definitely joked about. I think about Jump 5, which seemed to come from the Radio Disney, and which later kind of became a genre called bubblegum pop, and other boy bands, girl bands similar to boy band girl bands. Probably one of my most memorable stories is about the guitarist Billy Heller from the band Fighter. Now, when I first saw their album and listened to it for the first time in a Christian music bookstore, I actually have the promo that they had in the little rack. And so I'm going to read a little bit of this to you, but I'll tell you a little bit of a story because I then, not very long after I ended up with this, that I saw them at a concert and they were doing a sound check when I came in. So I ended up actually getting to talk to the members for quite a while as each one went through their own different thing. So I was sitting down in the pews with them going through that. And so I actually asked Billy Heller about this. But it says, featuring guitar wizard Bill Heller, formerly with Dave Ellefson of Megadeth. And so I asked Billy about this, and he said, "What? What do you mean? I mean, Megadeth?" And so I said, "No, I have this flyer. I left it at home, but I have this little flyer that I had that says you were associated with Megadeth. I just was curious about that time in your life." And he says, "Man, that's just bad marketing," because he said something to the effect that my roommate's friend knew someone in Megadeth, or anyway, it was kind of this distant relationship that he didn't even play a riff or even know someone specifically closely himself. And so it reminded me like of the line in Spaceballs that says, "I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate. What does that make me? Nothing." So, yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I saved this as a memento from that, because it taught me a lot at that point about the marketing of people and trying to draw people in, especially, I guess, trying to market to the secular side, trying to get them to come in and listen to a hard rock Christian concert. And so another couple that I have in mind, I think in terms of the success of Evanescence, and not necessarily that we had, the Christian Evanescence, but I think in terms of how that was a new sound that came out, and maybe there were bands like Fireflight and Flyleaf at the same time or even before Evanescence came out, but they just weren't given a chance until, man, the Evanescence album went through the roof, and suddenly we've got multiple Christian bands that have kind of that sound. And so you gotta wonder, which came first. Did we have that sound and it just wasn't given a chance, or did we find that sound after the success of that genre? I think the same thing in terms of Lauren Daigle. We didn't necessarily call her the Christian Adele, but that soulful voice and that sound that had the similarities. Definitely, you wonder, Adele had this success with that voice. Did we go out and look for someone to market it with that similar kind of a sound? And so that's where I'm at for this video, asking you kind of the same questions. What were you familiar with as you are listening to Christian music and you are being marketed to, and had you heard the Christian blank? And how many things are marketed to you in that sense, meaning that something you're familiar with on a secular side is presented to you as the Christian version of it. And so, yeah, I'll be interested to know your thoughts. Leave your comments. Remember to like and share and subscribe. Of course, I will see you in the next episode.